Happy Mother's Day. All right, I'm on air. Okay, try again. Hey there, students. Happy Mother's Day. Now, I am not going to advertise this. If anybody tunes in, great. But given that it is before 3 o'clock on Mother's Day and that's even earlier in other parts of the country, I don't want to do anything to discourage students from honoring their mothers. I mean, it doesn't say that in the Bible and that sort of thing. So, you need all the help you can get on this exam. But I am going to very quickly talk about the scientific revolution. Now, keep in mind, I'll be back at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight to talk about some other stuff emphasizing the 19th century and even going into World War I. Mr. Molden should be joining me. So let me go ahead and chat with you about the scientific revolution. Which is an important topic on this exam. And I'm going to try to kind of keep this brief, and maybe we get some live people tuning in, but then this will be available later for y'all to watch. Okay, so keep in mind that the biggest thing about the scientific revolution is going from a way of thinking. It's a transitional period. Going from a way of thinking about the world as, superstitious and being influenced, just by these old, religious traditions and that sort of thing, and non-scientific explanations. Down here in the South, like if it's raining and the sun's out, the devil's beating his wife or something like that. I mean, we still say stuff like that, even though we don't really believe it. But it's just that sort of thing, that sort of way of looking at the world, and going toward a more scientific viewpoint. So let's go ahead and share the screen. I'm going to show you my review guide. It is available at tomrichey.net on my website, tomrichey.net/Euro. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Now, first of all, there is the issue about the sun and the earth. Okay, so there's geocentric theory, which is the old theory that the earth is at the center of the universe. And this sort of thing makes us feel real good. After all, we wake up and we see, we look in the sky and we see the sun going around the earth, all right? I mean, that's what I thought when I was little. I mean, we might laugh at people and think, oh, yeah, you thought the sun goes around the earth. You're really stupid. Well, I mean, unless somebody told me otherwise, I would have thought the same thing. And really, I don't know. I just believe that some scientist told me. They could be lying for all I know. So the thing is, this is what people believed, and also it goes along with ideas from the Bible and even ideas to the Renaissance. That when you look back at Pico de Mirandola's Oration on the Dignity of Man, that God has placed man at the center. We are the most important creation. So keep in mind that philosophically and religiously, people believe that we're at the center of the universe, and ancient science, seem to uphold this from, Aristotle, Ptolemy, all of these folks. Okay, so this is where we are at the beginning, and the scientific revolution is taking us to a new level here, and really going from, astrology, superstition, to the science of astronomy, and really applying current mathematics and current tools and technologies and that sort of thing. So what you have here, and this is typical of the scientific revolution, is you've got a collaboration between people. The printing press, okay, is making it easier for people to communicate and share ideas, and that's one of the reasons for the progress of science, because Copernicus puts forward this heliocentric theory that the sun is at the center. Okay, so he's got the hypothesis of heliocentrism. And then this guy named Kepler comes up with the mathematical proofs for heliocentrism. Okay, so again, we've got this. And then Galileo, empiricism. Okay, now this term empiricism is very important here, because this means, and I've got a few other E words, experience, experimentation, evidence. It means that we should trust what we see, that we're heading toward a more scientific worldview. So these people here, they're thinking that knowledge comes from not what we're taught by an authority, but by experience. by what we can observe. Okay, so Galileo takes Copernicus's hypothesis, Kepler's math, and then he has his telescope. Okay, so he observes this phenomenon, okay, with his new telescope. And of course, he runs into conflict with the established authorities, especially people in the church, who are threatened by this, who are threatened by this idea that maybe we're not at the center of the universe. But keep in mind that a scientific mindset isn't about what feels good, it's about what we can have evidence for. And you have kind of a conflict here, because even though these guys were devout Christians for the most part, Copernicus was a priest, Galileo backed down in the face of the Inquisition and recanted, at least publicly. And then you've got Descartes, who was a devout Catholic, although, you know, he said that everybody needs to entertain doubt, okay, whereas the church, you know, teaches that we should have faith, you know, but the whole thing about the scientific revolution is that if we haven't observed something, then we need to doubt its very existence until we can come up with empirical evidence. And so, you know, that's the thing today, too. I mean, there are a lot of scientific theories that cause a stir, and not necessarily because of, you know, people think it's bad science, but it challenges their worldview. And that's what's happening during the scientific revolution. So that's one of the biggest things here, is this transition from this ancient geocentric theory. And also another thing that's happening is that for the first time, ancient science is challenged, which had basically been accepted ever since the Middle Ages, and going into, remember, the Renaissance was all about humanism and looking back with reverence on Greco-Roman scholarship and all of that stuff. So keep that in mind, that what we've got here is that we're starting to kind of move beyond where the Greeks and the Romans went. The Renaissance is thinking, okay, we're getting out of this dark age, and now we're setting the ground for the Enlightenment. You know, that, okay, we went into this dark age, then we're kind of looking back to the Greeks and the Romans, and it's getting ready for Europeans to feel like they are surpassing the Greeks and the Romans. And the scientific revolution is a big deal there, because Greek and Roman authorities are being proven wrong by the scientific method. All right, and let's go ahead and talk about some natural philosophers of the scientific revolution. Now, keep in mind, this is a fancy word for scientist. This was, you know, science was initially treated as a branch of philosophy. So Newton and others would have considered themselves to be natural philosophers. So there is Descartes, who was from France, or at least was French, even if he lived in Belgium or something like that. Now, Descartes is most famous for his quote, cogito ergo sum, okay, which is, I think, therefore I am. You know, which literally means that, you know, Descartes said it was good to doubt everything. And so he even decided to take this to the ultimate test. It's like, hey, let me try to doubt my own existence. That would be kind of cool. And so he even questions his own existence, and he reaches the conclusion finally that, wait, if I didn't exist, I wouldn't be thinking. So this is very literal. I think, therefore I am. I have proven my own existence by the fact that I can think. It's pretty trippy. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some of these other folks. Now, Descartes was also a mathematician, so the Cartesian plane, which you still use today in geometry, where you got the plus, plus, minus, minus, what is it, you know, x, then y, so minus, plus, then plus, minus, right? I think I've got that right. All right, so the Cartesian plane. So he was also, you know, mathematician. And then there was Francis Bacon, who was from England, and he conducted several experiments. You know, knowledge is power. Now, both Bacon and Descartes. They are both responsible for the development of what we call the scientific method. And let me see something real quick. I think I've got another sheet that I might have left on the printer. Be right back. And for some reason, my printer's messed up. Okay, the scientific method is basically set up to where instead of deductive reasoning, which was Aristotle, where basically it's almost like, you start with a premise, and it is what I think of as innocent until proven guilty. So, for example, like Socrates, what he would do is he'd start with two premises and then come to a conclusion. So, one, Socrates is a man. Two, Socrates is mortal. Three, all men are mortal. Okay, so you've got your premises and then you've got your conclusion based on those premises. So Socrates is a man, Socrates is mortal, therefore all men are mortal. So I've come to this conclusion that it's kind of there and until it's disproven. So I've got this big idea. I've started with the big idea and then I go from there. Now, inductive reasoning is where instead we take whatever evidence we have, whatever pieces of evidence we're getting through the scientific method, the scientific process, and we are using that to make a generalization. All right, so inductive reasoning is not based on premises, but instead it is based on evidence. Okay, so we are looking at evidence to construct knowledge. And so Sir Francis Bacon and René Descartes are responsible for this, which is basically we come to the conclusion based on evidence, empiricism, observation, experimentation. All right, and while we're here, let me go ahead and address these Royal Academies. All right, Royal Academies. Now, these were academies that were set up to promote scientific inquiry, and really the monarchs are looking to benefit themselves. I've got 3 W's here: wealth, war making, and weaponry. They are hoping that some of these scientific discoveries will, turn out for their benefit. All right, so let me go ahead and look at a few of these other natural philosophers. All right, so there is Newton, who is also from England. And Sir Isaac Newton was responsible for the law of universal gravitation, which is basically, we think about like gravity for the planet, but the whole idea of universal gravitation is it's a whole theory of looking at the universe. And keep in mind about Newton, we're looking at the universe as just everything is pulling on itself. This whole idea that it builds on the heliocentric theory, all right? So it's like we're moving around, everything's moving around, and most importantly, you got to keep in mind that Newtonian physics and really the science that's coming out of this era is setting up the idea that the universe is very organized, all right, that the universe is ordered. So therefore there must be a God or a higher power, a supreme being, an intelligent force governing it, because Newtonian physics makes sense, whereas like Einstein's physics and that sort of thing later on we get into relativity and all kinds of stuff that I don't understand even one bit, just a little bit more than I understand Newtonian physics or something, which is not much. So Newton is setting up this idea that the whole universe is pulling on each other or itself and that sort of thing, and that sets up this very orderly system. So keep in mind that all of these people are seeing something orderly. Francis Bacon, in fact, he said that a little philosophy, little natural philosophy, science and all that, is bound to make somebody an atheist. but a lot of philosophy is going to confirm one's belief in God. So keep in mind that science at this time is confirming belief in God, whereas, you know, the modern scientific community, you know, has a tendency toward, you know, atheism, agnosticism, because, you know, modern science doesn't always necessarily uphold this idea of a very orderly universe. All right, so going back here, let's take a look at, you know, so the law of universal gravitation, Newtonian physics, and he's also responsible for the beginnings of calculus, which is going to provide a greater mathematical foundation to move on to bigger and better things. You know, for math, you need some very advanced math to come up with more advanced science. All right, and then there is Vesalius, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to put a question mark after that. Belgium is what I'm thinking. Now, this guy dissected humans, all right, which that's, you know, some people complain about dissecting pigs and that sort of thing. Dissecting humans. Now, this is something that wasn't just a taboo for Christians, but this was a taboo ever since, like, the ancient world. You think about the Greeks and the Romans and the Egyptians. They thought the human body needs to be preserved for the afterlife. All right, this is an old way of looking at things. And, you know, even in the Christian tradition, we still bury our dead. Okay, there are some Christian churches that say you can't be cremated because they don't believe in that. They won't give a funeral for cremation. But most Christian churches, it's still very, you know, it's still the norm just to bury the dead. All right, so keep that in mind, that, like, at this time, dissecting human beings was illegal, and ancient science was actually based on ancient medicine. This guy Galen, who, because he couldn't dissect humans, he dissected apes, and so they had a warped view of what the human brain looked like. There's something that an ape has in their brain back here, or something like that, that's not the human brain. So we're actually starting to have a more precise science because people are willing to challenge cultural norms. So that is extremely important to note. All right, and then there is Blaise Pascal, which I believe we're talking about France, if I'm not mistaken. And Pascal was a mathematician. All right, math guy. All right. Yeah, I should know how to spell mathematician. I'm getting more too dependent on technology. So Pascal came up with, like, Pascal's triangle, which is kind of cool because you go like this, and so 2 plus, let's see, so 1, 2, 2, and then let's see, 2 plus 2 equals 4, and then you've got I'm messing this up. I'm not much of a mathematician. There's something online where you can see how this thing works. Let's see. Let me pull that up for you. All right. So Blaise Pascal. All right, we're going to find, there we go. All right, so there it is. Okay, I knew I was screwing that up some way or another. All right, so basically you've got 1, 1, 1, and then 1, 2, 1. And basically you just kind of keep adding up all the numbers, and you got ones on the outside, and it's just like, okay, these things add up to this. And see, so these add up to 6, and then these add up to 4. So it's kind of a cool little trick. So, I mean, he did a lot of cool math stuff. But what he is most famous for, probably, which gives you a real scientific worldview. Now, this guy was a theologian, and for some reason I'm not able to find my Google Hangout. Okay, here it is. All right, so he was a theologian, and he had a pretty interesting way of, looking at the whole God thing. All right, so, he doesn't want to believe stuff on, just on faith or something like that, but he says, like, look, okay, so I believe in God, and here we go. What if, like, let's think about, like, Descartes. Okay, let's look at the Cartesian plane. Let me use the Cartesian plane to explain Pascal's wager. So it's like, okay, I believe in God, you don't. Let's put logic on this. All right. So there are a few different ways that I could look at this. All right. So either move the light. Ow. Got my finger. Okay. So either God exists and I believe in Him. Okay. So here I'm happy. Okay, so here God exists and I don't believe in Him. Here God doesn't exist and I believe in Him. And here God doesn't exist. Oh, wait, God does. I'm no mathematician. Don't look at me for AP Math Review or anything like that. All right, so God exists, I believe in Him. God exists, I don't believe in Him. God doesn't exist and I don't believe in Him. God doesn't exist and I believe in Him. All right. So here I get to go to heaven. I'm going to heaven, Lieutenant Dan. Here I'm taking a dirt nap. Here I'm taking a dirt nap. And here, so it's like basically God doesn't exist. All right, take a nap. What did I lose? All right. So remember, this is Pascal's wager. And so the idea here is this is a problem because God exists and I don't believe in Him. According to Christian theology, He's burning in hell. All right. Now, of course, the thing is that's based on the idea if there is the Christian God, which, you could say, well, could there be a God that exists that's not the Christian God or, something like that. But according to Pascal, it's like, look, what do I lose by believing in God? Whereas by not believing in God, you could lose quite a bit of stuff here. All right, so that's basically the scientific revolution, moving into this more empirical worldview. Now, I've got to head over to an AP US History review, but let me go ahead and just introduce the British Agricultural Revolution. I've got a video on that, okay? So I've got the review sheet here, got a little bit on the British Agricultural Revolution, but let me go ahead and refer you to this video so that you can look at that. So we're going to go to YouTube. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that I can show you my YouTube playlist. Okay, so if you go here, you can look at the Hangouts we've already done. Then if we go to, let's see, playlists. All right, if you look at AP European History Review videos, I've got 30 videos for you to review. And I have got this video on the British Agricultural Revolution.
I know what you're thinking. Hey, Richie, what are you doing with that hoe? People used to ask me that in high school all the time. Really, just kidding, because girls wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole in high school. But this is fitting because today we're going to talk about hoes and plenty of other things. We're going to talk about the agricultural revolution. All right, thank you, Keegan. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the British agricultural revolution.
All right, and so that is an option for you. All right, so if you want to find out what I'm doing with that hoe, that's probably the high point of the video. A lot of my friends have watched that one, and they'll say something about that, and I'm like, did you watch the rest of it at all? So take a look at that video, and you should be able to fill that out if you want to understand the British Agricultural Revolution. So keep in mind, I've got my website, www.tomrichey.net/Euro, where you can get my review guide. You can go to YouTube, get content review videos. I've also got AP Euro Q&A videos, and I've also got some other live hangouts that I've done. Thank you very much to those who are watching. I've got to head out. I will be back at 7 p.m. tonight to do some other stuff, and I may pop in unannounced and do some enlightenment stuff between then and then so that we can kind of get a comprehensive AP Euro Hangout review. So I will be back later this evening, and hopefully you'll be studying between now and then, watch my videos, all that other stuff, but I'm out. Until next time.